What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. We have now hit the time to finally get started on this Trans Am and get this bad boy ready to go for the Hot Rod Power Tour in June. I haven't had a whole lot of stuff show up yet, but I have had some stuff. So I think where we're going to get started today is going to be on the dash of the car and getting some of this lighting upgraded. The lighting in the dash on these guys, I mean, they're old cars, so they're just real dull, dingy, kind of hard to see at night. And I've actually got a couple of gauges that are completely out of light. So we can swing over and take a look at them here. Let me grab my light, and I'll show you guys what's going on here. So here is the dash of the 76, and basically what I've got is the lights in those guys right there are pretty dim, and the fuel gauge and the volt gauge both I have absolutely no light in at all. So see, when we turn the lights on, you see how they're just real dull. I mean, I know I've got lights going in my shop, but even at night, they're almost difficult to see at night. So what we're gonna do is get this whole dash bezel assembly out of here. In order to do so, there are 3 bolts up top, all along here. Pull those out. There's a couple of clips on each side at the bottom of the bezel. You'll pull the cigarette lighter out, and the trim ring behind it will unscrew that guy, pull it out of the way, and then under here we've got our kick panel. There are 2 bolt type clips at the bottom of that kick panel, and I'll get it dropped out. And then there are 4 bolts and a bracket holding the steering column into place. I'm actually going to take that loose and lower the steering column down in order to give myself enough clearance right here in order to be able to tip and pull this bezel out. So without further ado, I will get started on that and get this pulled out of here, and we'll take a look at what we got once we get it out, and I will catch you guys here in just a minute. Alright guys, so I've got the dash bezel out of the car. As you can see, which I don't know how good you can see on the camera here, the bezel itself needs a little bit of loving. It's a little tarnished, needs some cleaning up. So I'm going to take care of that while I have it out. I'll pop off all these trim rings and give the entire thing one heck of a good cleaning. See how much I can restore this myself without really buying a new one. I'd like to try and keep this piece original and keep it to the car. So I'm going to try and just get this thing cleaned up to where it's going to look great again and still yet be the original piece for the car. As far as what the dash looks like now, let me grab my light here, because there's not a whole lot of light inside the car. So we'll get over here. So I got the steering column dropped down. There was a little bit more to it than what I had told you. Basically, there's a bracket that runs across here underneath. I got those bolts out. There was a piece of duct work under here that I pulled out too, just to make sure that I didn't damage it when the steering column came down. And right here, there is a couple of long screws that go in that actually hold that bezel down to this dash pad. Other than that, it was just the 3 screws across the top, and apparently at some point the bezel had already been taken out of this car at some point in its life because it no longer had the clips that go in here. But from what I understand, that's pretty well normal. Those clips are a real big pain in the butt. and the thing is fastened down really good anyway, so you don't really worry about putting those clips back in. But as far as what we're left with here is the gauge cluster itself, and the fuel gauge and the volt gauge. Looks like they're all pretty well held down with 1/4-inch screws. So I'm going to jump in and get those guys popped out, and jump right back in with you to get the bulb swapped out, and we'll see where we land from there. Alright guys, so different day, same video. I ran into some issues with the lights that I bought for the dash of the Trans Am. The Trans Am just simply did not like the lights that I purchased. They're not working. They're supposed to be non-polarity, but it's just, they're not functioning. So I ordered some new lights for the dash. In the meantime, I went ahead and continued to do some work on the panel itself, and the finished product of that engine turn panel has come out fantastic. It costs several $100s to have one of these redone or have a replacement done. And as you guys can see from what I pulled out of the car as opposed to what I'm looking at now, is tremendously different. It's not absolutely perfect, but in order to retain the original piece to the car, which to me personally was really important because this was one of the features of the car that I just absolutely loved growing up as a kid. So I put in the elbow grease and got it done, and believe it or not, I did some research online and found out that the best thing to use was just a simple magic eraser. So I literally have a cup of water and a magic eraser, and I took all of that tarnish off with the magic eraser, and then I made sure everything was dry and good to go, and I went back over it with Shine Armor in order to make it nice and slick and smooth. I was worried about using polish on it because polish can be kind of harsh and do some damage to that engine turn, which is really easy to do on these parts. So if you ever have to get into doing anything like this, be very, very careful about what you're doing when you're trying to preserve an old part like this. I spent quite a bit of time online searching this and making sure that I was going to try and preserve this part in the right way. I did find out that I had really good results with the magic eraser, and I simply went over it with the Shine Armor because I was worried about trying to put a polish on it, and the Shine Armor is not harsh at all. It's basically just a spray ceramic coat. I use it on my truck. It works absolutely fantastic. The rain, everything just beads right off the truck. I've got the Cobra coated in Shine Armor right now as well. And I have not touched this car in probably 2 weeks. I haven't even dusted it or anything. And you can't tell. I mean, the car still just looks fantastically clean, and so does this guy as well. And I do need to do some buffing on this guy, which is going to be coming in a video here very shortly. I did a little test spot just to see, and you should be able to see in the camera the circle that I did right there by hand with a little bit of rubbing compound. So we're going to be able to make one heck of a difference in this car. The paint is going to look absolutely amazing for what it is and for as old as it is. So I'm going to try and preserve that as well. I do have a buddy that's going to help me with some paint work just to make sure that we don't have any missing paint on the car. I've got some issues with the passenger side mirror. It's apparently attempted to have been repaired before, and whoever did it did not do a very good job. And these rear fender skirts, they just catch a bunch of rocks going down the road. It's kind of one of those things that is what it is. So I'm going to have that coming up soon. We're going to get that taken care of, and when my lights come in for the dash, we're going to get the dash finished up. And then the next project after that I'm going to jump into is we're going to go ahead and lower the front end of this car. I've got drop spindles to drop this thing 1.5 inches. So that's coming up really quick, and when we drop this thing 1.5 inches, I'm also going to roll the inner fender in order to make clearance for these big year one wheels and tires. These guys are 17 by 9s with 275/40 17s on them. So we've basically got double the amount of rubber that we had before underneath the front end of this car. So dropping it 1.5 inches and still having that rubber under there, we're going to have rubbing issues. There's no doubt about it. So we're going to roll those inner fenders and put flush mount hardware in and make clearance for those wheels to where we can get the front end of this F-body down where it needs to be, because all of these F-body cars sit way too high in the front end. We're going to take care of that and put a proper rake on this car. So as of right now, that's where I'm at. And there's a little bit of hint of what's coming here pretty quick. I just wanted to go ahead and finish this video up, get something out for you guys, make sure you knew what I had going on, and we will catch you here very shortly because I am going to stay busy on this car. We're going to get this thing ready to rock and roll for Power Tour. I will see you guys next time.